All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to return to the first suspect, which we covered, Carlos. Right, we covered him on our channel. I did a video and pointed out to people. Now, I didn't call it in. I didn't call it in. I'm gonna let you know I didn't call that in. Um, I was going to, but they already pretty much had him. So I don't know. I might call it in, to Arizona maybe. But let's take a look at Carlos. Now it's coming back around, right? We have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, maybe eight suspects in the Nancy Guthrie case. But I'm going to show people why we put Carlos. He was arrested, but if you look at the video Carlos did after he was arrested and released, right after the same night, uh, Carlos had a fingernail mark above his eye, and I'm going to show you that right now. And a lot of people miss that, but on this channel we pointed it out. Now, we might make a call down to Arizona, maybe, see, you know, just to be safe. Just to be safe. Does he fit the subscription if you put a mask on his face? Yes. Do the other seven people that they arrested look similar in a ski mask? Yes. Their features are the same. I agree. Yes, they had the right to put them people. Why? Because they look, their eyes, their mouths were somewhat similar to porch guys. So let's take a look at Carlos. This is the original photo that I had, and we're going to take a look at that real quick. And I'm going to blow it up, and I'm going to show you. And if you look at Carlos, Carlos also does things with his hands. And Carlos also, I believe, in a video that we seen that he did a reporting, bent over just like Porch Guy and didn't bend his knees. Does he have the same build? Yeah. Is he the same height? No. But see, what did they get wrong in the Delphi case? The height and the weight was off. They gave you an estimate. They could be off an inch. They could be off 5 inches. They might be off 5 pounds, 10 pounds on the guy. So let's look at this video or this photo of Carlos. All right, there he is. Now, this was right after he was picked up. Okay, the police go to his house. He gets released. He goes, he does an interview. Okay, I don't know if you folks can see that. Hopefully, you can see that. There's Carlos. Now, I am going to zoom in on Carlos because what did we have? Can I say 100% that mask guy is Carlos? No, because I can't see his whole face structure. What I'm going off of are the eyes, the lips, and other things. The way he holds his hands, the way he cups his hands when he's talking in this. Now we might call it back, call it in. We might. If someone beats me to it, that's fine. But I was calling in on, I would call in on everybody. They're all suspects. It's an open case. And everyone, well, why would you do it? Well, because if you put a ski mask on these dudes, they all have facial structures that would be consistent of what we're seeing with Porch Guy. Now let's zoom in on this photo here. Let me get it. Hold on a minute. Just hold on. Let me figure out what's going on here. People all going crazy. Let's zoom in on. Hold on a minute. All right, I'm gonna zoom in on this, folks. I'm gonna. No, I want to show these people that these people think we're trying to. They're all suspects until they catch the guy and come out and say, "This is the guy." You know, and what are they saying to this day? They think there was more people involved. Now, what they didn't catch, which I'm wondering if the police or the FBI questioned Carlos, was this nail mark right above his eye, right there. That, my friends, is a nail mark. Did Mrs. Guthries have nails? No. Does he have the eyes? Yeah. Does he have the eyebrows? Yeah. Does he have the chin and the mustache and the lips and him? Yeah. But can I say 100% that porch guy is Carlos? No, because I don't have 100% identification because the guy's got a mask on. Now, we covered Nick, we covered Carlos, we covered every single one of these guys. And do I see why people are putting them in the category? Yes. And these people should not be punished for it because if you put a ski mask on any of these guys, yes, they're similar. They have similar features when you put a mask on them. So I would say kudos to them people that are calling in these tips. Kudos to them. Bravo. And you got 8 of them. Yeah. Well, a lot of them. I talked about Matt Brown. People are like, oh, you're crazy. Put a mask on him. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Exactly. We don't know 100%. People, Ernie Shell, okay, put a mask on him. Does Ernie have them features, that lip, them eyes and everything? Well, no, I see what you're saying. Exactly. We can't. So the only thing we're going by is the eyes, the mouth, the hair, the structure. So now the case has come around full 360, right back to the. Now, there's still other people that are suspects because we have no idea how many of these people were involved. Tommaso was a suspect. His friend, the rock star, or the guy that was in his band with him, suspect. They're all suspects. And the simple reason is if you put a mask on these people, they all would have similar features to mask guy. You got to put them in that category. You got to put them in that category. There's no way around it. I agree. I agree with some of these people. So I caught this. No one else did. We zoomed in on it. And what is that right there? A fingernail mark. Now, was he questioned on that fingernail mark? When did that fingernail mark occur? And that's almost like maybe somebody was struggling and was going to rip his eye out. Maybe he did it himself when he was trying to straighten out his mask. Maybe we don't know. But if I zoom out, if I show you a profile of Porch Guy, and then you look at the profile, which I showed you a profile of Carlos when he was doing the interview, he turned his head, and you can see the profile of Carlos. Does it match? If I said yes, they would come down on me like a ton of bricks. Do some of these guys match the head? No, they have the features. They have the features. But if the mask don't fit, you must acquit. That's true. If the head don't fit, you must acquit. That's true. They can take his head. They could put a ski mask on it and see if it lines up with Porch Guy's head. And if it does, and if it fits in there perfectly, well, it's a match. And that's why these guys are suspects until proven, they're innocent, but until proven guilty in the court of laws, they're suspects. Only because the computer and everybody else is going, yeah, I see what you're saying, Johnny. If you put a ski mask on them, they do have them features. And that's why. And I hate to say it, even Matt Brown, yeah, I put him in the category of suspect because he was gone. He was gone at that time. Uh, he was all messed up. He was acting crazy. So yeah, I threw him in there as a suspect. Ernie Shell. Yeah, well, Ernie Shell from now until probably will be suspect on a lot of things. Innocent, but he'll always be a suspect, right? A lot of these guys, Alex, yeah, suspect. Yeah, he's got. Remember when the video first came out? Everybody said, "Oh my God, Porch guy's got really white teeth." Well, you know, they'll throw that in the pot. You know, he's got really white teeth, big white teeth. You know, but then we found out it was a light. I mean, numerous things. So could it be Carlos? Oh heck yeah! Oh yeah, that's why he's a suspect on this channel. JLR's a suspect on this channel. You know, Nick and all the rest of them, and Zach and all, they're all suspects. They're all suspects, just like Delphi. I don't know why we're going through so much trouble with these people and the government and everybody, but they're suspects. And like I said, this guy, is it a coincidence? A couple days after the crime or whatever, a week or whatever, he gets picked up and he's got a nail mark above his eyeball like somebody gouged him out. I don't know. I don't know if it's coincidence or not. That ain't my job. Our job as citizens are try to match the face, the eyes, and numerous things. But we did a video on Carlos. We did several videos on Carlos, and I did the same thing. I zoomed in to his face, and right there is a nail mark under his eye. How did that happen? I would be questioning him on that. How did you get that nail mark underneath your eye? How come your head fits in Porch Guy's head? They're saying his family called in on him. That's what they're saying. His family tipped in that it was him. And it might be, but until they come out and say Carlos is the man and the only one that did this, the rest of these guys will remain suspects. And they're suspects in other things other than the Nancy Guthrie case. Yo, Debbie. All right, we're going to watch a video that a gentleman just put out. Hold on a minute. We're going to watch this video that was just put out. Now, keep in mind, we have already covered Carlos. Here he is just getting out. Does he have the body shape and the hands? And yes, that's why he's a suspect. Hello, Miss Debbie Fox. I'm sorry I came back so fast, but I wanted to get on this because the case is coming 360 around. And to this day, they're saying they think there was more than one person. I'll check this out.
Police had been following them, and within minutes he was sitting in the back of a patrol car being asked for his name, his date of birth, and his social security number. Hours later, his house was torn open under a federal warrant. His phone was taken, his garage door was broken, and somewhere in the middle of all of it, his own mother-in-law said something on live television that no family member should ever have to say about someone they love.
He's looking at you.
She told a reporter what police had shown her. A photo of the man in the mask from Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera. And she said his eyes looked the same. This is not a theory.
No, it ain't no theory. It is our theory because we covered him. Uh, Numerous times we showed, like I said, and you can see it right there. I can see the cut right above his eye in the mask guy. I'll probably have to call this and add this to the other seven I called. You can see the cut. You can see the cut above his eye. So, and is that blood? That very well might be blood right above his nose. Well, maybe. Maybe it was a nail gouge. Maybe. But did he get in a fight with guy number two? Because guy number two that we see, got pissed off. What'd you do that for? Now they're going to be able, might attack maybe. Mrs. Guthrie attacking maybe. We're not sure. We are not 100% sure because the guy's got a mask on, and we are excluding all this stuff. A lot of people, I can't believe it, calling in saying it's Michael Jackson. Are you kidding me? It's Michael. He's alive. Oh my God. Debbie, you got the biggest splitter of your life today. Oh, good God. The biggest splinter. Get it out. Put some hydrogen peroxide on it. Now, so the case comes back 360. Do we know 100% that it's Carlos? No. But what do we know? The eye. And what is wrong with that eyeball? That eyeball is cockeyed. It's going into the one side. So this guy had a problem with his eyes. No, who else had a problem with his eyes? Well, we see Matt Brown on his video talking about he's got hyperdipe or something where his eyes cross or something happens with his eye, hypodemic something or something. I don't know. I don't know. So what do we know? Is Matt Brown the guy? He's just he's just a suspect at this point because at that time he was missing. Well, Matt Brown was always missing. Matt Brown was always missing. And here's the thing: if Matt Brown ain't involved in anything of Nancy Guthrie, thank God. But here's the thing: he might be involved in something else. There's reports that he shot out some guy's window in his truck or something and left. So that's probably why the police are interested in talking to Mr. Matt Brown is because of things he's done and whatever. And the videos he put out of everyone saying he's on meth, he's crazy, this, that. So you throw these people into the pot. Why? If you put a mask on Matt Brown, does he have them features? Yes. I'm not going to lie to the people. That's why these people are suspect. They put that bridge guy, or that bridge guy, they put that porch guy's face into the computer and it's pumping out eyes. It's pumping out people that already had records that have been photographed, probably. It's going through all kinds of stuff. That computer is pumping out millions of fairies a second. It's just popping out features. What would this guy look like? What does his eyes look like? And then it just runs through random uh, social media, Facebook photo, you name it. It's just pumping out faces, possible suspect, possible suspect, possible suspect. Not because we can see their whole face, because of the eyes, the mouth, and the facial hair and the way the guy acts and moves. All right, let's watch this.
Someone built in their bedroom at 2 in the morning. This is not a Photoshop overlay posted by an anonymous account. This came from the man himself, standing outside his own house, hours after federal agents searched it. He said it to multiple reporters on camera the same night. His name is Carlos Palazuelos.
Carlos Palazuelos. Oh, you, you very bad man. You very bad man. Now I'll probably call this one in too if I can, but it's probably too late by now. I've already called in everybody. But I did 7 videos on Carlos, so we got that covered. You can see my videos on Carlos, and I'm the one that pointed out he had cut over his eye. Now, still to this day, can I say 100% it's Carlos? No, but his facial eyes, features, hair, all that is a match. The head, the whole thing, the way he looks. If you put a mask on him, does he appear to be similar? Yes. Even in the video that he's doing right now that you're watching, I watched that video. I showed it when he bent over. He bent over, but he bent over without his knees. Now, either this dude is the most stupidest dude because he's injecting himself into the case. He's acting like porch guy. He's looking like porch guy, and it's all a tactic. So they arrest him, and then he wants to sue the government, right? When he's egging him on with it. Why would you post a photo of your face to your family in a ski mask when all this is going on? You got to be nuts. You got to be crazy.
For about 18 hours in February, his name was the most searched term in the country. And then it disappeared, buried under every theory that came after it. Tommaso, Dominic Evans, Mexico, the reservation.
I bet you they
theory after theory, piling on top of a man who was never charged, never officially named, and to this day has never received the one thing he asked for.
Now, let me tell you something. We covered Tommaso. You put a ski mask on him. Does he have the features? Yes. You put a mask on his buddy here. Does he have the features? Yes. He even had the mark of the lip. Right? All these people had features. If you put a ski mask on them, that's why they became suspects. That's why. And people are all pissed off. Well, how are you doing that? Well, it's easy. All you have to do is look at the thing wasn't, well, the guy's 6 foot. It don't matter. Calculations are off. The video might be, the way we're getting the video might be formatted where this guy is, 5'6" and 150 pounds or whatever. So it was all on that. Now, are they still suspects? Until the government solves it, yes, I hate to say it. They are all suspects. Even Matt Brown, even Ernie Shell, all of them. Why? Because they have a record of disappearing and doing bad stuff. And then they come back. People for I don't know how long told Ernie Shell in his chat that he was wanted by the government, and they all lied. We seen them sending him money and helping them evade police when they really were looking for him. So would Ernie Shell lie? Well, for 7 years he lied to you folks. He was on the run for a while. He made the police look like fools. Of course, he claimed he was the police. Remember that? He claimed he worked for special forces with Trump forces against Save the Children or whatever. Comes to find out he didn't work for Trump. And Michael Cohen got on camera and told Ernie Shell he was lying. He never worked for Trump. He don't know Trump. He ain't no, so these people lie. Their people lie. Their channel lied. He was literally wanted on numerous things for a long time, and he stayed evaded from people helping him. Now, he did his time. He's a free man. He's innocent till proven guilty on anything else. But we don't know if they were telling the truth, if the documentation that they were showing is true. We have seen these people forge and fake documents before. We've also seen them get the wrong guy. We seen him get the wrong Ernie show, and that guy did do prison, but not the Ernie show. That was that was wanted. And some people are saying the murderer of Ronnie, whatever his name was, with his brother. Now I don't have 100% proof on that. I don't know that. But for people to report him or calling a tip on him and everything, well, yeah, they have the right to, he does fit the subscription to the. If you put a ski mask on him, yeah, then he acts crazier than a coon. He's funny, don't get me wrong, but is he possible? Would he be able to do something like this? Well, I don't know. I don't know these people. I'm just a YouTuber, music movie dude that does nothing but make his own stuff up here. And I don't record other people's music. I don't use their skits. I create my own. I connect my own dots. And I'm glad we covered. And JLR is the one who thought it was this guy next to Tommaso, which, if you put a ski mask on him, does he fit the. Yes. Yes. I would say, yeah, if they picked him up, yeah, I can see how you put a ski mask on this guy. Yeah. He's got the eyes, he's got the lips, which I did a whole 3 or 4 or 5 videos on this guy where there were similarities in the eyes, the mouth, and the height. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Carlos, yeah, I would say Carlos is a good suspect. He knew he was in that area. He even said on camera he's been to that house. Carlos even said that he was at Nancy's house on camera, on news, said he's been to that area. He delivers in that area and he was at that house. Now, does he fit? Yeah, because did he always look like this with this bowl uh, uh, haircut? Maybe not. Maybe he changed his whole appearance. Maybe. We don't know. But what I do know is if I was the investigator on this case, or even anybody that oh come on, that had anything to do with picking them up or anything, I would have questioned them on that right there. That's what I would have done. The eyes don't lie. Is he a match? He's dang near close, and I don't have a computer. I'm just going off what I can see with my eyes. What else do I see? Well, I see a cut, a nail mark, like someone gouged him in the eye or something. Whether he did it himself or whatever, his girlfriend got in a got in a fight with him. What you got to explain why he's got a nail mark there, and it's already in healing pattern. It's already healing, right? It looks like maybe a couple days, maybe you know, it's already starting to heal. How did that get there? Did they even notice that? Did they even question him on that? I don't know. But once they released him and I got a photo of him, I zoomed in. I'm like, this guy, I think this dude's got a nail mark. And I think Kelton, the rest of the ladies, Debbie and them that came in said, he's got a nail mark above his eye. And they might not even have seen it. If he pulls his eyes up further, the skin might have overlapped it. But it's not the skin. That's what people said. I said, that's not his eye overlapping. That's a nail mark. Somebody gouged his eye or something happened to his eye. And that's a nail mark. And I zoomed in further, and sure shit, it's a nail mark. What else does he have? He's got a white van. I bet you they all knew each other. I bet you this was something bigger than this. Will probably blow your minds. It'll probably blow your minds. Like Monk was saying, you know, could this be inside and bigger than what we think? Yes. Yeah. Could he have transferred her to Mexico? I don't know. He's only 50 miles away from there. He could have, but that's a big chance. You got to have big pull if you're going to drive over with a body into Mexico with a dead body or somebody they're looking for in the car with you. You ain't going to get through there without being seen. Therefore, you would have to have connections to somebody way up, and who they would have connections with Border Patrol, where you're just going to drive right through with this lady, no questions asked or nothing. And I don't know if he had that kind of pull. I don't know. What does it seem like to me? It seems like the police are doing their job in the FBI, and it's a ring. It's many. That's why many are being picked up. They might not have been there, but they might have put it together. They might have. Yeah, you don't know. They're saying they're looking for the puppet master, right? The one that puts all this shit together and decides we're gonna kidnap this woman and do. This wasn't spur of the moment. That's what I keep trying to tell these investigators and these people on YouTube. This was not spur of the moment. This was planned, and it was planned for a while. And for me to tell you the truth would be we don't know how long she was missing. The family made a call, and we have no idea. We're questioning that call of really how long she was missing. Maybe the police and the authorities didn't believe her. Maybe it is that corrupt where they called the police and the authorities, but they thought they were lying, whatever it may be. It's very well might be that these idiots had full control of Mrs. Guthries' devices, house, keys, car, computers, cameras, and everything. And she could have been gone months before anybody even got wind that she was missing. The family getting mad at Tommaso. We heard the video today. Supposedly, there's recording of a big argument at Annie's. Supposedly, Annie's saying, supposedly, we don't know if it's true, that no one was supposed to get hurt and this has gone too far. And it might have. Maybe they weren't even planning to do anything to Mrs. Guthrie, but someone got wind that they were trying to take somebody out or do something. And in return, they got hit. Maybe. We don't know. We have no idea. Debbie Fox says one on the other side of the same eye. No, there ain't. There ain't. I looked at it. You mean on this eye, Debbie? There ain't. There's nothing. There's one cut right in the crease of his eye. So I can see how maybe it was missed if he was picked up, because if he opened his eyes further, it might have the skin might have overlapped, and but that's definitely a fingernail. That's definitely a fingernail in the corner of his eye by his nose, which we also see in some of the footage of Mask Guy, where it appears to be blood maybe coming through the mask. We also see in the footage that I zoomed in on the porch guy before he has the backpack on and the lights. And it appears to me that the jacket is already stained with a substance, whether it be blood or whatever. And then we see porch guy walk up with the backpack out. So we know there was other people there. How many? I don't know. Now I'm with the rest of you folks. We hope to God that these people, none of these people had anything to do with it. But I hate to throw these people in as suspects. But the reason why is because if you put a mask on them, yeah, they all have that facial feature, and that's what the government computer did. Probably was it probably pumped out anybody that had a record, a photo, anything, and they boop, 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 boop. These are possible suspects in the case. And the police go pick them up and question them. Yeah, they're doing their jobs right. They're doing their jobs right. Now, you know why I also put Matt Brown in there? Because Matt Brown was missing. He was always missing. And the video I seen was about the time somewhere around there where his face was all busted up, and he also had a scratch on his nose, on the bridge of his nose, up by the center of his eyes. He had a scratch there, a bloody scratch there. He had that big busted lip, and he had a scratch on the side of his face. And if you throw a mask on Matt Brown, yeah, he looks similar to it. He had whitish, grayish hair, but he also in his videos had uh, face paint where he would paint his face. I also showed that in my video where he painted his face like the crow or whatever, where he painted around his mouth black and around his eyes black, but he also had white makeup on. So I threw him in as suspect. No one knew where he was. Nobody. Everyone says he's act crazy. He's got all kinds of weapons. He was acting weird the past year, 8 months or so, on his channel. All the videos I watch. After I found out that something was going on, I went through all his channel and started watching videos, and I was like, God dang, we never knew. It was right there. Debbie Fox is saying that Matt Brown's girlfriend used to smack him around. No, they're suspects. There's nothing we could do. You remember in the beginning of this case, people were saying Porch Guy was a woman. It was a man and a woman. They said it was Tommaso and Annie. I looked at the photos. I'm like, it's possible Tommaso, but Annie, I don't think so. She don't have, there's no, there's, I don't think so. She's not, she's, she's bigger, you know. I don't think so. Maybe Tommaso and someone else. Maybe many. Maybe we don't know because we're only going. If you put a mask on the guy, does Tommaso look like it? Yeah, I would say yeah. Throw him in the stack of suspects. And people don't. I don't know what it is. They call these guys real crime YouTube channels, but you mention, hey, look at this guy. This guy's a suspect. Oh no, it's not. No, I don't know why. Is he number one suspect? Yeah. Let's continue to watch this video where he puts himself there. It's like it's like it's like the Delphi case where Richard Allen put himself there. You had other YouTubers claiming that they were there as the murders were going. Anthony Greeno was there and then went back that night to look for a phone. They implicated themselves.
Or from the very beginning. Somebody to clear his name. There is a federal director who said, the same night this happened, that investigators were looking at more than one person. Multiple persons of interest in his own words. Carlos Palazuelos was one name on that list, and 4 months later, almost nobody remembers his name at all. Subscribe before we go any further, because this channel does the work other people skip.
All right, I just want to say, for YouTube records and government records, when I first got this video, I thought that was John Voight. That was commentary. Is that John Voight? Which a lot of people don't realize John Voight is supposedly in the FBI. He's a great actor. His daughter is Angelina Jolie, which, if she wasn't married to Brad Pitt and these big guys, I probably would say she's beautiful. But does that look like John Voight, or does that look like John Voight? It looks like John Voight to me. It's not him, but it appears to look like him.
We are going back to the night everyone forgot. Every quote in this video comes from a named source: Fox News, Newsweek, NBC News. Nothing here is guesswork. Nothing here is speculation dressed up as fact. This is Brian Records. If you are new to this case, here is what you need to know before any of this makes sense. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She is the mother of Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie. On the night of Saturday, January 31st, 2026, she had dinner at her daughter Annie's house in Tucson. Her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, drove her home around 9:45 that evening. She was dropped off, walked inside, and the garage door closed behind her. By the next
I just want to say there is no proof. I just want to say at this time there is no proof that Mrs. Guthrie was even home that day or even in that state. At this time, until they show us evidence, there is no proof that Mrs. Guthrie left that house. There's no video. There is no nothing. We have at this time no proof that Mrs. Guthrie left that house and returned that night. Let's continue. I agree, Deb.
Next morning, she was gone. She did not show up for church. Her family reported her missing on Sunday, February 1st. What followed was one of the strangest missing person cases this country has seen in years. Blood on the porch, later confirmed to be hers. A doorbell camera that had been physically disconnected. Software on the device recorded movement at the home a short time later. But because Nancy did not have an active cloud subscription, none of that footage could initially be recovered. Investigators believed they had lost the single most important piece of evidence in the entire case. Then came the ransom notes. At least 3 separate news outlets received letters claiming responsibility, with payment demands and deadlines attached. One deadline passed on a Thursday. A second passed the following Monday evening. Nobody could confirm whether any of them were real. On top of that, a man in California was arrested for sending a completely separate, fake ransom note of his own, adding another layer of confusion to a case that already had almost nothing solid to hold on to. Real. On top of that, a man in California was arrested for sending a
All right. Does Carlos look like the first photo thumbnail that we're seeing from Nancy Guthrie's before he puts on the backpack or whatever, or whoever, which I still think there was many people there, something going on. Does he have that body structure of the guy that we're seeing that looks beefy, right, in that photo? Yeah, I would say so. I would say, yeah. The upper half of this guy is matching the guy we're seeing before he comes in to the four-way, which I don't even think it's the same guy. When these guys start touching their arm and they're talking in sign language to other people out, that's what that one lady was saying on JLR's. Well, she's using that guy, that porch guy is using hand signals, and he very well might be. There might be five other dudes out there in the dark that we can't see. And another thing, all them lights in the Nancy Guthrie porch video behind porch guy, there's four of them that I picked out. They're landscaping lights. That's what they are, people. You guys, oh, it's a car. It's a car. They wouldn't have parked a car anywhere near that house unless they had access already to the garage. They would have pulled in like they own the place. They would have parked in the garage. Them were landscaping lights. I know a lot of you folks are, it's cars, it's car. No, go to Mrs. Guthrie's house, Google map it, zoom in on it. You can see their landscaping lights. They're landscaping lanterns. The other people that said it's the moon shining down, casting a shadow. See, it's there. And now you don't see a shadow. That's because they got in the house and shut the lights off. But originally, they were the two big giant lights that were on top of the four-way when you walk in to the front door. There's two giant lights hanging there. Why they didn't see that? It was the moon. They're not allowed. Arizona people are not allowed to have their outside lights on because of our stargazers. I was like, bullshit. Bullshit. Your whole your whole thing is bullshit. Them lights were on. That's what's casting the shadow. It wasn't the moon. Bullshit. It was the front porch lights and the landscaping lights that were on. That's why he cast the shadow when he first walked up. I got to do everything. I'm not even getting paid by these pricks, and I got to do everything for them.
Completely separate, fake ransom note of his own, adding another layer of confusion to a case that already had almost nothing solid to hold on to. The Pima County Sheriff's Department was receiving thousands of tip calls, nearly 18,000 by the second week alone, with more than 4,000 arriving in a single 24-hour period after the footage came out. Several hundred detectives and agents were assigned to the case. A pacemaker and daily blood pressure medication Nancy needed was still sitting in her home. And for more than a week, almost no physical evidence at all existed beyond the blood on her porch. Then, on Tuesday, February 10th, everything changed in a single afternoon. FBI Director Kash Patel released video and still images recovered from Nancy's own doorbell camera.
I'll tell you what, right now, if we put a ski mask on Patel, he's suspect. And you ain't doing nothing to change my mind. I'm gonna get a bunch of hate mail out. Are you kidding me? I ain't kidding you until this case is closed. He's suspect. You're just racially profiling. No, I'm not. Throw a mask on him. And what's he got? The lips. He's got the hair. He's got the big head. And what else does he have? Problems with his eyes. If you look at Bridge Guy, what's wrong? Well, one of the eyes is angled in a little bit. No, I'm just joking, Mr. Patel. I'm not going to put you on the suspect list. If you keep harassing me, I'm going to put you on the suspect list. I'm just telling you, Debbie. Shut up, Johnny. How can you... You can't see hair through the mask. All you can see is the hair around his mouth. All you can see is the eyebrows, the eye shape, the eye socket. That's all we're going off of. That's it. We have no other way That's all we can go off of. And the body language and the way it moves, the size of the hands, the way they cup their hands. That's why these people were suspect. And if anyone came to me and said, "Do you think the FBI was doing their job and the police with all these suspects?" Yes. Yes, I think they were doing the right job because you put a mask on these guys. I can see how they could be mistaken for porch guy because they have that feature. They have that thing. They have the eyes. They have the mouth with similarities. It might not be them, but I can see how somebody would say, "Well, they look suspect." Yeah, yeah. America's doing their job. President Trump, FBI, Congress, Senate. The American people are doing their jobs as citizens, trying to help, trying to keep our children, our grandmas from being kidnapped or some crazy shit. All right, let's continue.
Camera. The footage had been thought lost. Investigators worked with the camera company to pull residual data from back-end servers. And what came back showed a masked figure approaching the front door. A backpack, gloves, a holstered handgun. The person's head tilted down as they walked under the archway, like they already knew exactly where the camera was pointed. At one point, the figure reached down, grabbed plants from Nancy's own yard, and held them up in front of the lens. This was the break the entire country had been waiting for. Savannah.
Debbie Fox. Debbie Fox said, "It was cash. Okay, it was cash. Go outside, Johnny. This is you're gonna make these people mad." It wasn't cash at all. You guys, these people got to be that crazy. If it was the sheriff and Cash Patel, are you kidding me? That would just be nuts. That would be completely nuts. Yo, Kelt, how you doing? Debbie said, "Just go outside, touch grass." It was him, Johnny. It was him. Oh Lord, Miami. Kelt saying, "F this, F this." I don't blame you.
Guthrie posted the images herself within the hour, writing that someone out there had to recognize this person, that the family believed their mother was still alive, and asking whoever it was to bring her home. That same night, FBI Director Kash Patel appeared on Hannity and told the country something that hasn't gotten nearly enough attention since. He said investigators were not just chasing one lead. He said law enforcement was actively looking into multiple persons of interest in the search for Nancy.
And bingo. And I agree with Cash 100%. Bingo. They right from the bat they were looking for. Usually something like this, there's more than one guy. And if there's only one guy that orchestrated this whole thing, that dude had access to everything. He had access to the keys, to the car, to everything, like I told you folks. For one man to do all this, he would have to have total access to everything. Could one man do this? Yes. Not likely, but yes. Usually these people will call someone in to help them to make sure they get, I'll give you $5,000. That's how they operate. They might have thought this was going to be a giant payday for them. On both ends, on both ends. You know, they might have thought this was a giant thing, big payday. And I agree with some of these guys. They would have hired people out. They wouldn't have done it themselves. They would have hired people out to do it for them. Maybe Carlos had trouble. Maybe this family had trouble. We don't know. We have no idea. Kelt, what do you think? I was flipping around lives and not surprised how many were making fun of white men. No, they're trying to say now that our Native American Indians have something to do with the Guthrie case, and I'm like, you guys are nuts. You're crazy. There ain't no way the big chief would allow that. He'd beat you with a Indian drum. He'd beat you like an Indian drum if he found out something like that. There ain't no way the big chief would approve of this. No way. Uh-uh. There ain't no way our Native American Indians had anything to do with this bullcrap. I ain't buying it. So who did it, Johnny? Many people were involved, Kel. We showed you. Didn't you see this video? Didn't you see my video? I'll show you. Once they caught him and they put his face out there, I got to show everybody. I was the only one that zoomed in on it and said, wait a minute, this dude's got a nail mark over his eye. Did anyone question him? It's right there. You ain't got to be an idiot to see it. You ain't got to be blind. It's right there. Did anyone question him? Hey, where'd that cut come from above your eye, that fingernail mark? You know? Nobody did. Nobody gave a crap. They all said Johnny was crazy. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, right? I've gone mad. But then again, I was the first one to put the footage out of him. What else do we know? Well, that one eye's aiming a little bit. Does his eyes match? Sure. Right? The distance between his pupils and well, it's there. It's there. No, it's there. What are his eyes dilated right now? He's got all these lights in his face, and his eyes are dilated. They should be small. We're going to go ahead and we're going to show you how to run a country. We're going to show you how to solve cases. We're going to show you all this with a couple billy bats and a bunch of manpower. That's what we're going to show you how to do. I'm just joking. That's part of my movie. I forgot that one. Debbie, I almost went into my script. I was back in the movie Fist with Stallone and everything. I told you I'm going to do it. Kel saying white manpower. I don't know what to say, but there ain't no way our Native Americans did this. Not American ones. I don't know why they blame them for everything. I don't know. Probably because I'm part Indian, right? Everybody's got to blame me.
Through at the exact
Let's
same
let's get this
time.
straight. Let me back this up.
Being worked through at the exact humanity and told the country
Now listen.
something that hasn't gotten nearly enough attention since. He said investigators were not just chasing one lead. He said law enforcement was actively looking into multiple persons of interest in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Multiple. Not one masked man on a doorbell camera. Several names on a list being worked through at the exact same time. This single comment matters more than people realize because it tells you that whatever happened a few hours later in Rio Rico did not come out of nowhere.
And bingo was his name-o. I agree 100% with what they're saying. Many people involved, well, many people were suspects. And them suspects, whether they were involved or not, had to be gone through. Will there be more suspects added onto that? Yes. Why? Just in case they get the wrong guy? That's why. And the government is doing their job. And that's how the government is supposed to run. I have to agree with Cash Patel. We hope to God we find him because if I put a mask on you, you kind of look like Porch Guy Patel. I'm joking. I'm joking, sir. It's just this and Bahala thing going on out here. I'm in the neck of the woods out here in the middle of the trenches in Indiana around the and all this stuff. So I'm trying to survive, sir. I'm just trying to survive. That's all, Mr. Patel. Let's get back to this video. Debbie, no. Kelt, what did you just say? Have you seen the local apartment of natives? I'll stop being before someone knocks on my door. Yeah, just don't. Don't count. It's not the natives. It's not the Native American. It's a native tribe, a reservation. Are you kidding me? Them guys got their own casinos and everything. They got more money than the government probably. Are you kidding me? Why would they want to kidnap an 84-year-old lady? It just is senseless. Not in America. Maybe some other native, whatever, in another country. Not in America. They wouldn't jeopardize everything they got for some 84-year-old one. It just ain't happening. I'm sorry. I can't. There's certain things I just can't cover, and that's one of them. All right, let's keep going.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. The USPS has increased
You
daily.
always say you got me.
Carlos Palazuelos was not randomly profiled off a single grainy photo. He was one name connected to a tip, sitting somewhere on a list the FBI director himself confirmed existed that very night. That same Tuesday
Now
evening,
watch Carlos's
while the images
hands.
were spreading across every news channel in America, Pima County deputies pulled over a grey SUV on a road near Rio Rico, Arizona, a small community about 60 miles south of Tucson, just north of the Mexican border. Population around 20,000 people. The driver was Carlos Palazuelos' wife. He was a passenger. Within the hour, the Pima County Sheriff's Department posted a short statement. A subject had been detained in connection with the Nancy Guthrie investigation. That single sentence set off one of the most chaotic nights this case has ever produced. Reporters from nearly every national outlet started driving toward Rio Rico within minutes, racing to be first on a story that just hours earlier had.
Now I remember that night. I covered that night. We all covered JLR. I was in JLR's chat. He pulled up on the car and he thought it was just a random stop. And I'm like, stick with the car. Stick with the car, JLR. Don't leave. And JLR let that guy that was in the car with him talk him into going somewhere else. And I'm like, stick with the car. I'm telling his people in chat, tell JR if he wants the story, stick with that car. They're cleaning the car out. They were cleaning the car out. They were going through the car, pulling everything out. But JLR listened to some random stranger that he picked up off the street and led JLR into the desert. I'm like, well, we probably will never see Mr. JLR again. That was a hilarious night. We were laughing our butts off that night. It was hilarious. Debbie, remember at the very same time, an 84-year-old woman was airlifted. Yeah. Yeah, I seen that story too. That she, that's very possible that something happened. She was lifted out of there, called the hospitals and everything, but the family said they called all the hospitals and police did, and there was nobody in there. So, would they tell you if this little old lady, 84 years old, who had such big evidence on all these big pharmas and big whoever's, and all this, and they have her in the desert somewhere with no security and no anything. I don't know. That's pretty crazy to me in itself. You know, she had info on big pharma and the Medicaid, Medicare, big pharma fraud and everything, and you're letting this little lady live by herself. She's got one of the biggest companies by the balls, and you're letting her run around by herself with no security, no one at home, nobody. Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Been about plants and a ski mask, and was now suddenly about a real name, a real address, and a real family caught in the middle of it. The FBI's evidence response team and Pima County deputies obtained a court-authorized search warrant for a home in Rio Rico that night. Reporters described a large police presence outside the residence. Investigators broke down both the front door and the garage door to get inside. A family that had done nothing wrong watched federal agents go through their entire home in the middle of the night. Inside that house was Josefina, Carlos's mother-in-law. And before her son-in-law was even released, she went on live television and gave reporters his full name. She told them he had nothing to do with Nancy Guthries' disappearance. She called him a good guy. No criminal record, no history of violence. She said investigators had shown her the doorbell footage, asked her to look at the clothing the suspect was wearing, and to say whether it matched anything Carlos owned. She said it did not. He doesn't have any of that, she told them. But she also said something else that night, something that would follow Carlos for weeks afterward. She told reporters that police had shown her a picture from that footage and that they had pointed out the eyes. And according to her son-in-law, this was the comment that led directly to his detention. By 1 in the morning, the search was finished. Investigators left the property. Carlos Palazuelos was released without charge. What happened in the hours right after his release is where this story stops being about police procedure and starts being about a human being. Carlos went home to a house with a broken front door and a broken garage door. And almost immediately, reporters were waiting for him. He gave at least 3 separate interviews that same early morning, standing outside the home that federal agents had just torn through. He told Fox 10 Phoenix exactly what he understood about why he had been pulled into all of this. His own words, recorded on camera. All I know is that they show my in-law a picture of somebody wearing a mask or something, and they supposedly look like my eyes. Think about what that sentence actually means. This is a man telling reporters in real time that the entire reason he was sitting in the back of a patrol car that night came down to a partial view of 2 eyes through a ski mask on a grainy doorbell camera in the dark. He told them what the questioning actually consisted of, not an interrogation about a kidnapping, just basic information. They only asked me for my first name, my last name, date of birth, and my social, he said. When reporters asked if he had ever been to Nancy Guthries' home, his answer was honest in a way that should have closed this chapter immediately. Might have been a possibility. Don't know. Yeah, he said. He explained why. He is a delivery driver. He works routes across Tucson. It is entirely possible that at some point on some unremembered afternoon, he dropped a package on Nancy Guthries' porch, like he has dropped thousands of packages on thousands of porches. He was asked directly if he had heard of Nancy Guthrie before that night. Never until today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what are we seeing? We are seeing a video that is black and white on this side. What are we seeing on this side? This is his actual skin tone. This is what we all seen that night. Why did they do that? Why did they put out photos that were inverted or black and white when they were trying to throw people off? Somebody within either this branch of government or these people, social media, news, whatever, wanted to throw people off. We weren't seeing the real footage of that guy coming up. We were seeing the footage, but it was either x-rayed or inverted or whatever they do, where it changes the color of the skin, of the jacket, of many things. Now, why? I don't know. I have no idea. It must be that corrupt and evil and bad. Now, what does it look like right there in the corner of this, which I told people, well, that looks like either blood or something or a scratch. Now, I seen other, and this is about the same area that Matt Brown had a scratch on his face. It was right up here. Now, whether these people are putting out fake stuff, I don't know. I don't know. Why would these people want to now I understand what Danny and the rest of these guys down in Texas, and they're protecting these people. Why would they give us this footage that appears it's Michael on this side, but this is a different guy with real skin complexion? Well, yeah. Now you can see wrinkles in this guy. You can see the wrinkles in the eyes. You can see the the wrinkles and stuff. So is it possible? It's possible that they were trying to throw people off. I don't know, but if you look at that footage that we first seen, it does look like some blood coming through on the nose, maybe, or right up here. Uh, they also had blood from someone else, supposedly, or DNA from somebody else. So, is it possible one of these guys were hurt during this, or maybe got in a fight with each other when one of them might have messed up or whatever, or whoever, whatever, Mrs. Guthrie fighting for her life? Maybe. And for people to get upset at these YouTubers or me for investigating, looking more into it. So this is what we're really seeing is real life uh, color of the skin and eye. Is it similar? Yeah, it's similar. So I can see how Carlos would be a suspect compared to the real footage, but they inverted it, right? Because everybody was saying when it first came, look at how the eyes are so dilated. So we know whoever was doing this was on the meth, the yayo, because that white, that giant big thing, his eyes dilated, and they shouldn't be. Because he's looking into the camera, and the camera's got a light on it. He's got a light on it. The whole four-way is lit up. After he turns all these lights on and everything, his eyes should adjust to having light being reflected off of the windows, the door, and everything into his eyes should retract his eyeballs and make them smaller, but they're giant. So maybe he is on that. Kel says that does not look like the guy in the FBI video. No. Numerous people. They could have switched. The one guy that we first seen without the backpack that looked beefier, stockier in the chest and everything could be Carlos, right? They send more people in, right? Go up to the front door, but someone else now is dressed like Carlos, but has a backpack on and a gun and all that, which it could be Carlos. Carlos could have done this whole thing, but by himself, yeah, he had access to everything and knew where yeah. But he was hired by someone to do it, right? Or somebody was conspiring with him to pull this off. You know? What did he admit? He was there, and he probably delivered packages. And is it coincidence he drives a white van and there's a van? And no, I don't know, coincidence maybe. Like Monk was saying on Monk's Intuition, that maybe they carted her out on a dolly. It's very possible. Threw her in the back of the van or truck or whatever, and boom, they're gone. Oh, very possible. A giant suitcase on wheels, a traveling suitcase on wheels. Yeah, very possible. To conceal the body. You're driving around with a body in your car, and it's all over the news. They're missing. That's a risk. You're going to get caught. So they would hide the body as they're driving around. Well, very well possible. Many people involved. That's what it's looking like to me, folks. Other people knew what was going on, maybe. I don't know. Let's continue to watch. Debbie says, "No, that guy don't look any." Or Kel says, "No, but don't look anything like that." Yeah, you might be right there, Cal. You might be right.
He said. Defense attorney Ben Taylor, speaking publicly about the legal side of what happened that night, laid out something important that almost never makes it into the headlines about cases like this. He explained that police are allowed to pull someone over if they have reasonable suspicion or probable cause. That part of the stop was legally sound. But he also pointed out that the person being stopped has Fourth Amendment rights that very few people understand in the moment. The right to say, "I do not want my car searched." The right to ask for an attorney before answering a single question.
Raising Cane's chicken fingers. One love.
When we look at all the connected world, all the devices we are using, they actually face very similar challenge.
Taylor's advice to anyone in that position was simple. Say you are innocent, ask for a lawyer, and stop talking. Carlos did not do that. He chose to answer everything they asked. He described it himself afterward. They wanted to know his whereabouts, where he had been, what his work schedule looked like that week. He told them all of it, voluntarily, because he believed cooperating fully was the fastest way out of a situation he did not understand. Looking back, Taylor's commentary is almost a quiet warning about exactly what happened to Carlos. A totally innocent person can still end up nervous, talkative, and detained for hours, simply because they didn't know they were allowed to stop. He even described what happened to his actual vehicle during all of this. They sat me in the car. They investigated my car, he told reporters, before adding that police eventually gave it back to him once they were finished. No drugs found, no weapon found, no evidence of any kind tying that car or him to anything connected to Nancy Guthries' disappearance. Just hours lost, and a car that came back exactly the way it left. He told NBC News through Telemundo how the entire experience felt from the inside. "I felt like I was being kidnapped, bro. They didn't tell me anything." And in comments picked up by multiple outlets, he said something that should concern anyone who believes in due process. "They held me against my will. They didn't even read me my rights 2 hours in." And then, standing outside his own torn-apart house, he said the line that ended up defining this entire night. "I hope they get the suspect. I'm not it. They better do their job and find the suspect that did it so they can clear my name." Now I want to slow down here because this is the part of the story almost nobody talks about anymore. And it is the part that should bother you the most. Carlos Palazuelos did not disappear after that one chaotic night. He kept fighting to clear his name because nobody else was doing it for him. About a week later, he sat down exclusively with ABC 15 reporter Ford Hatchett, alongside his attorney, a man named Jesse Showalter. And what Carlos described in that interview is honestly heartbreaking if you actually sit with it. He said that ever since that night, people had been taking pictures of him and his family, following them. He specifically mentioned a moment where he and his wife were out doing DoorDash deliveries, came home and found a red truck following them. The same truck was back the next morning. "It's been kind of scary for me and for my wife, my kids, and everybody," he said. Stop.
Well, I can answer that for Carlos. Probably because they're watching you. Probably because you're a suspect. Probably because it's possible they have your DNA there because you delivered packages there, you said. Possibly many things. It could be possibly a private investigator. It could be many things because they never cleared your name till this day. Your name has not been cleared. You haven't received your phone back. We also seen that in the Delphi case where Anthony Greeno's phone was taken and he was on video yelling, screaming. They cried they didn't give him his phone back. They refused to give him his phone back. I don't know if he got his phone back, but that was his own words. They weren't going to give his phone back. But and that was weird because in the beginning of the Delphi case, they said they took devices, iPads, phones from people that got phones and iPads uh, from Keegan Klein, and they said they confiscated them in the videos that they made. And but then people were giving back their devices after the police took the information off of the phones and iPads that they got from Keegan Klein because he was selling them to people. So whether that's true or not, we have no idea. But that video is out there or somewhere in the Ethernet, and that's them people out of their own words saying that. Right? Not anyone. I think Keegan Klein talked about it too. That he, had devices or which are phones, computers, or laptops, iPads, stuff like that. All right, let's keep going. This is almost over.
And consider what that actually means for a working family. Carlos still had to deliver packages and run DoorDash routes to pay his bills, all while strangers were photographing him on those very routes. His wife, who was simply driving the car that got pulled over that night, was now also being followed. His kids were living in a house with a broken garage door, in a town where everyone had seen their father's name and face on the
Whoever's making this video into Carlos, they're not just strangers following you. They're not. It's probably government. I imagine they're following all these people that are suspect or fit that subscription of possibly having the eyes or nose and the dark complexion, whatever. And they're probably following everybody, and anyone they picked up and a name Nancy Guthrie case arrest, whether they had anything to do with it. People are thinking, well, yeah, they could be suspect. It might be they have nothing to do with it, but they put the Nancy Guthrie name in there, and everybody's going, going crazy, and that very well may be. It's him, it's him. Well, I can't say that for 100%. I can put him as a suspect on this channel, but they're all innocent until proven guilty, and they're just suspects. That's it. Are they being watched by the government? Probably. High profile case like this and meth and all kinds of stuff involved in it. Yeah. Alex arrested for 12 times for having chemicals for meth to produce massive amounts of meth. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, yeah, I would imagine they're probably watching people. The government's doing their job.
news tied to the words kidnapping and Nancy Guthrie, with no official statement anywhere saying he had nothing to do with it. His attorney had one specific, simple request for Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos. Come out publicly and say that Carlos Palazuelos had nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. That request was never granted. Not that week, not in the weeks that followed. As far as any public record shows, Pima County never issued the statement Carlos asked for. He was never charged. He was never officially named a suspect or a person of interest in any press release. But he was also never cleared, not in writing, not on camera, not in any official capacity. He was left in the worst possible place a person can be left. Not guilty, but never innocent either. At least not according to anyone with a badge. And here's a detail that adds to the confusion around this entire night, something that has caused genuine mix-ups even among people who follow this case closely. There were actually two separate SUVs connected to this investigation around the same general time frame. One was the grey SUV that Carlos and his wife were driving when they were pulled over in Rio Rico. The other was a completely unrelated blue SUV that investigators later removed directly from Nancy Guthries' own garage and towed to an impound lot for examination. Two different vehicles, two different locations, two different purposes in the investigation, and yet online discussion about this case has occasionally blurred the two together, as if one SUV explains the other. It does not. They are entirely separate threads, and treating them as connected only muddies a story that's already hard enough to follow. This kind of confusion is exactly why timelines matter so much in a case like this. When a story moves this fast, with this many names and vehicles and search warrants happening within days of each other, small details get scrambled. And scrambled details turn into theories that don't hold up under any real scrutiny. So let's talk about the eyes, because that detail deserves real scrutiny, not just repetition. Forensic experts who study facial identification will tell you that recognizing a person from a small, visible portion of their face, through fabric, in low light, captured on a consumer-grade doorbell camera, is one of the least reliable forms of identification that exists. The eyes are expressive. They change shape slightly with every expression. Lighting changes their apparent color and shape dramatically. Camera angle distorts everything near the lens. This is not me making an excuse for anyone. This is simply how forensic science describes partial facial recognition. Courts have repeatedly treated eyewitness identification, especially partial identification through obscuring material like a mask, as among the weakest categories of evidence available, because human perception under those conditions is notoriously unreliable. People misidentify strangers from a clear, well-lit photograph all the time. Add a ski mask, motion blur from a doorbell camera, and the emotional stress of being shown an image connected to your own son-in-law's possible guilt, and the odds of a truly reliable identification drop even further. There's also a psychological element that rarely gets discussed in cases like this. When a family member is shown a photo and asked, "Does this look like someone you know?" that question itself can plant a connection that might not have existed a moment earlier. Once you're told to look for a resemblance, your brain often finds one, whether it's really there or not. That doesn't mean Josefina was wrong, and it doesn't mean she was lying. It means the entire identification process started from an extremely fragile foundation, and everything that followed was built on top of it. That does not mean investigators were wrong to pull on this thread. If a mother-in-law looks at a photo of her own son-in-law's eyes and says, "That looks like him," a competent investigator has to follow up on that. Ignoring it would have been negligent. The traffic stop, the search warrant, the questioning, all of that was reasonable police work based on a real, named tip that came directly from inside the family. What was not reasonable is what happened after. A man's life was turned upside down for one night, based on the feature that even forensic science tells us is one of the least reliable identifiers available. And then, once the search came back empty and no charges followed, the system that put him through that night offered him nothing in return. No public statement, no formal clearance, just silence, while a red truck followed him to his DoorDash deliveries. Now here's where this case gets genuinely interesting, and where I think the title of this video actually earns itself.
All right, if you're asking me what's going on, excuse me, I'm having a piece of pizza. It's an ongoing case, sir. Whoever made this video, whoever, is an ongoing case. Until the case is solved, Carlos will always be a suspect. They're not going to come out and say Carlos ain't a suspect because it's an ongoing case. All these people will be suspects. Why? Because it's an ongoing case. But why hasn't the police come out and said none of these people have anything to do with the case? Could they do that? Yes. And could they be lying to the American people? Because why? They want to watch these people. They'll probably be watched the rest of their life if that's what it takes to solve a case. You get one of these FBI guys on you, and the next thing you know, this guy can watch you for 20, 30 years. He can make a whole living out of your whole life, getting paid by the government to watch you. So, yeah, can you take them off of the table? You can't take any of these dudes off the table. It's obvious something's going on because even the FBI or police haven't come out and said these guys have nothing to do with anything. But what did we see in the Delphi case? The police got on there and said, these people have nothing to do with this. And what did they do? They arrested some of them. The police lie. I know it sucks, but when they're investigating people, yeah, they can lie. They can come out and say Carlos had nothing to do with this. And the next thing you know, pick Carlos up. Yeah.
Dr. Gary Brucato, the forensic psychologist who has analysed this case extensively for News Nation, laid out a profile early on that almost nobody connected back to Carlos Palazuelos. Brucato said that statistically, the vast majority of people who are killed know their killer in some way. Not necessarily a close friend, not necessarily family. He specifically said it could be someone who worked in the house at some point, someone Nancy knew from going to the grocery store, anyone with what he called a passing relationship, someone with comfort level and knowledge of the property. And then he said something that in hindsight lines up with Carlos Palazuelos almost perfectly. He said the radius of people who would know something or who would have encountered the type of person responsible is not very large. He said investigators should be looking at anyone with a tie to her finances, the inside of her home, or her property, and that this includes, in his own words, people who come to the house for trade work or services. A delivery driver who works routes through her neighborhood fits that description as well as almost anyone could. Think about what a delivery route actually requires. You learn which houses have dogs. You learn which driveways are steep. You learn who answers the door personally and who has packages picked up.
It's funny. This video mentions the dog because in the beginning of this case, they were interviewing the neighbors. And what were the neighbors saying? Well, we used to see her out here walking her dog. She's got a little dog, a dog in there. Is the dog okay? And everyone was like, dog? What are you talking about? And then people came out, and that was his neighbor. That was her neighbor saying that. And then the one neighbor said, oh no, she got rid of that dog a long time ago. So they didn't even know, how long has it been since they seen this little woman, because that guy was saying she used to walk her dog or let her dog out in the front to check them out, something about the dog, and someone came out and said, no, she got rid of that dog a long time ago. Was that the last time they seen this little lady? I don't know. I don't know. That's very interesting. Debbie says this guy don't even live here in America that's doing this video. He's got an accent. Why is he even doing?
by a housekeeper. Over months or years on the same route, a driver builds a kind of casual, half-conscious familiarity with a neighborhood that very few outsiders ever get. Not friendship, not a relationship anyone would remember, just repeated, low-level exposure to a property and the people who live there. That is precisely the kind of comfort level Broccato was describing when he talked about someone who could move through Nancy's property without the hesitation a true stranger would show. This is not an accusation. I want to be completely clear about that, because this channel does not deal in accusations against people who have never been charged with anything. What this is a connection that nobody in this case has put together publicly until now. A leading forensic profile and a real named individual who was actually detained, actually questioned, and actually fits the loose definition of someone with passing familiarity to Nancy's property. Someone Nancy may have crossed paths with, even briefly, even without either of them remembering it. That is what the title of this video means. Not that Nancy and Carlos Palazuelos were friends, not that she knew his name, but that if he really did deliver to her address even once, he falls into the exact category of person multiple experts in this case have said deserves more attention than a complete stranger ever would. So why did this entire lead just go quiet? There is no public record of Pima County ever commenting further on Carlos Palazuelos after his release. No.
And they don't need to, because anybody with even more than a brain than me would realize they don't need to comment on anything. And the reason they're not commenting is because I have a feeling old Carlos is just not off of that list yet. And I know it sucks, but a lot of people, it's not him. Well, maybe so, but he does. If you put a mask on him, does he look like you guys similarities? If we didn't have computers and technology today, what would you have to go on? Excuse me. Your eyes. How do you think they did this shit before computers came along? Good old-fashioned investigation. What would they have to go off of if we were in 1920 right now, or 1930, when they didn't have computers? They didn't even hardly have photos or anything. Your eyes. Does it look similar to you? Yeah, kind of does. All right, the guy's a suspect. That's how they did it back in the olden days. And that's what YouTubers are doing today, because that's all they got. We don't have $50 million worth of computers to run people's faces in and it pop out just thousands of faces.
No follow-up statement. No update on what, if anything, his seized phone revealed. As far as anyone outside that investigation knows, the trail on this specific man simply stopped. What we do know is that the broader case kept moving. A second person was detained just 4 days later on February 14th, a few miles from Nancy's own home, not in Rio Rico this time, but close to the Catalina foothills neighborhood itself. That person was also questioned and also released, with even less public attention than Carlos received. We don't even have a name attached to that detention in most of the public record. One man got his face on every news channel in the country. The other barely registered as a footnote. There's no consistency in how these moments get covered, and that inconsistency itself says something about how chaotic this investigation was behind the scenes. Tips into the investigation, which had been pouring in by the thousands, started to slow down noticeably after that second dead end. Investigators went from receiving thousands of calls a day to a noticeably quieter inbox. The Guthrie family eventually announced a $1 million reward to try to generate new information, because the leads that had once felt promising had gone cold. Investigators reportedly returned to Nancy's own home again just 1 day after that reward was announced, which tells you the reward itself may have shaken something loose, even if the public never learned exactly what. And as the months went on, the public conversation around this case shifted entirely. Attention moved to Tommaso Cioni's silence, to Dominic Evans and his 19-year history in a band with Tommaso, to theories about the Mexican border, about gait analysis, about DNA that didn't match anyone in any government database. Carlos Palazuelos simply got left behind. Not cleared, not charged, just forgotten, while newer, louder theories took over the conversation. That is not how an investigation should work, and it is not how basic fairness should work either. A private citizen with no criminal history, who fully cooperated, who answered every question they asked him, who let them search his vehicle and his home, that person deserves a resolution. He asked for one publicly, through his own attorney, and as far as the public record shows, he never received it.
Room for 6 full-size passions.
I want to be fair to every side of this before we close, because that is the only way to tell this story honestly. Law enforcement had a real reason to pull on this thread. A family member, under no pressure to lie, looked at a recovered image and said the eyes reminded her of her son-in-law. In an active kidnapping investigation involving an 84-year-old woman, ignoring a tip like that would have been a failure, not caution. The traffic stop, the warrant, the search, all defensible, all standard procedure for the situation they were in that night.
I agree. They had every right to arrest him when they showed a photo of it to his family member. And she said that looked like him right there. He became suspect. They had a right to question him. Right? Do I think they broke the law or anything? No. No. No, not at all. Not if his own family saying it looks like him. Yeah, I would imagine so. I would imagine. No, I don't think they broke any laws by that. Even if they didn't have the proof, they let him go. Why would they let him walk away? Well, they're connecting the dots. Either they don't have enough on them. They're waiting. It could be it could be another 10 years, and they pick him up. Now he was the one. After we don't know what kind of technology they have. They might have to wait in line. There's other cases going on, in America that have been put aside for many, many years that are in front of this, right? I know it's a high-profile name and everything, but when the police and the FBI get on there and say we had no idea that there was even anything going on, that's fishy. What do you mean she's missing? We had no idea that she was missing or the family was negotiating with a hostage situation and a kidnapper. That was the police's own word and the government's own word that they had no idea that this was even going on. And I agree with them. They had every right. They show her a picture. Does this guy look familiar? The eyes or anything? Oh, yeah. That looks like my son-in-law. Looks just like him. Yeah, well, that's why they picked them up. That's why they're looking at yeah. It's like all these suspects and them asking me, well, what do you think? Well, yeah, they look like the dude. I don't know if it's them. But they have the eyes, they have the mouth. We're seeing different photos of Porch Guy. How many of them are there? We don't know. They might have took turns going. One guy might have went in front and was to see if there was a camera. Hey, send someone in front, take everything off so you look different. send the one guy in front to see if there's a camera in the four-way. They send one guy in. He comes up, yeah, I see it. There's a camera. Or he might have said, no, I don't see a camera. And then the other guy, oh, okay, right? He comes walking up like nothing, right? But then realizes there's a camera. Oh, crap, I'm set up. Right? They told me there was no camera here, and here's a camera. Right? I was set up, which we have YouTubers that I've been watching that, within the past thing or whatever, when this is all busted loose, I feel like I was set up. Yeah, well, maybe they did. Maybe, others involved. Maybe the one guy was just a recon to see if there was a camera there. And then either he didn't see it or he's seen it and sent someone up, sent another person up front. Or it might be the same guy, man. We're just YouTube couch potato reporter, investigator, music, movie, DIY, outdoor, storm chasing, people, crime fighter, whatever. We're not the professional. We're just trying to help. We're trying to feel a part of something. We have disabilities ourselves. No, we're just trying to help. Let's continue. Debbie says, nope, no. This dude isn't even from here. That's not what I said. That's not what she said. But let me just go with it, Debbie, because it sounds good. We might put it in the script or the movie here.
And Carlos Palazuelos has never been shown to have any connection to what happened to Nancy Guthrie beyond a partial resemblance and a job that may have taken him past her front door at some point in the past. He cooperated fully. He answered every question. He let them search everything they asked to search. Nothing came of it. No charges, no further searches of his property, no further public statements naming him in any capacity. Two things can be true here at the same time. The investigation was reasonable to pursue this lead, and the way it left Carlos Palazuelos afterward, without any public statement clearing his name, was not reasonable at all. That gap between reasonable police work and an unfinished promise to a private citizen is the part of this story that deserves to be remembered, even if the headlines moved on months ago. It's the part of this case that doesn't require a single new clue, a single new theory, or a single new suspect to fix. It only requires one phone call, one statement, one sentence from Pima County that has never been made. Think about every other major name connected to this case. Tommaso Cioni has the sheriff's written statement that the family is cleared. Annie and Savannah have the full weight of national media defending them at every turn.
All right, I just want to say that still don't make them not suspects. Even though the sheriff, which a lot of people are saying is corrupt and involved, even though he wrote a statement saying that the family's not involved in Tommaso, and when everybody is saying it could be Tommaso, we're saying, does not mean that they have nothing to do with this. I know it sucks, but I'm just telling the people, even if Nanos wrote a thing saying the family had nothing to do with it, with the things that are coming out on Nanos being corrupt and all this, that note does not mean anything to the FBI. That statement means nothing to the FBI. Just letting you folks know. They can write letters all day. That does not mean that the FBI don't see something different that the police don't, or that the FBI stumbles onto a corruption thing. We don't know. I don't know if there's anyone left watching this showing nobody cares and nobody's here, and that's fine. But voice your opinion. Where if it's all true what they're saying, that Arizona is just completely corrupt, the police, everything, cartel, everything, then it don't matter what Nanos wrote, what the sheriff wrote. It don't matter. It's what the federal government's saying. Right? If it's that corrupt, you got Trump saying all this people, they're all corrupt. It's all corrupt. Well, then you can write all the letters you want from police, but the dang FBI might be watching the police. We don't know. We have no idea. America's become too dangerous. I think I'm gonna move. No, I know. Page Turner said I'm a USA citizen, and that's true. But it's just become too dangerous. I'm gonna have to do the biscuit boogie out there. So maybe Canada, maybe North America, somewhere warm. Well, no warm. I like the seasons, so somewhere cold and warm, somewhere like 50-50 or something. Um, you know, and I don't fly, so no planes. If you can't get me there in a car or a van, I ain't going. Maybe a boat, but well, maybe not because it's everyone's dying on these cruise ships, so I ain't going on no cruise ship. I'd have to drive. Start building roads and highways to these other countries so I can get there. Yeah, not flying, I'm sorry.
Even Dominic Evans, whatever you believe about him, has had his side of the
Oh,
story
yeah,
published
Dominic.
in the New York
Dominic,
Times.
too.
Carlos Palazuelos, a man with no criminal record, no connection to the family, no resources, no platform, has nothing. No statement, no clearance. Just a broken garage door, a red truck that used to follow him, and a quote he gave to a reporter back in February that nobody in power has ever bothered to answer. That imbalance between who gets protected in a case like this and who gets left exposed is worth sitting with for a minute.
I just want to throw this out there, and anyone watching, feel free to go ahead and let me know if I'm right or not. What if Carlos was involved in somehow? And let's just say Carlos was involved with other people, and either they were drug cartel, whatever they were, you know. But what's to say that that person in the red truck ain't even the police? It's somebody that's working with Carlos. Meaning, if Carlos runs his mouth, if anything happens, anyone, if Carlos rats on somebody, whatever, that guy in the red truck's going to handle Carlos. Did anyone ever think of that? It's the authorities. Well, it very well might be. It very well might be the authorities. But it also, if the police or these people or whatever, if Carlos was the man, and we don't know on this channel, once again, quit editing out whoever's hacking my channel, whether it be government or whoever, that these people are innocent. And we don't know 100% if that's the guy. We're going off of a guy in a mask. And that's all we can do. Did anyone think that if this is what they're saying, that that red truck is just in case Carlos decides he's going to run his mouth? And then there is no more Carlos. And you probably won't see that red truck again. Anybody? No, probably not. Probably not. They're just too closed minded to think outside the box. So either it's government or it's somebody that's watching Carlos because in case Carlos runs his mouth. That's my best guess, probably. That's probably what I'm guessing. I would be guessing. If he was in on it with somebody, well, they're probably watching in case he runs his mouth. And like I said, you probably won't see Carlos or that red truck anymore. So what do we do? I don't know. What can you do? Do I think the police broke any laws? No. Not when the mother went ahead and said that. Not when the computer and everything, because they don't have a full face. All they got is the eyes. And it's like Billy, Billy, whatever, eyes without a face. Well, there you go, baby. Billy hit it right on the mutton with that. Billy Idol, right? Eyes without a face. And that's what we got. I keep telling these people that's what we got. We got eyes without a face. That's all we got to go on.
It's also not the only time Pima County's handling of this investigation has drawn criticism for inconsistency. Throughout this case, the Sheriff's Department has made public statements clearing some individuals in writing while leaving others, like Carlos, in permanent limbo with no formal word either way. There is no consistent standard for who gets a public statement of innocence and who simply gets released into silence. If you have the right family connections or enough media attention, you get a clearance.
Celebrate Father's Day with every cast, catch, and memory at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.
Giving my son a needle during an allergic reaction is traumatic for both of us. So we said, hello, Neffy, the only needle-free.
If you're a delivery driver from Rio Rico with an attorney nobody's heard of, you get nothing. That is not how equal treatment under the law is supposed to function. And it's a pattern worth watching as this case continues. Nancy Guthrie is still missing. As of right now, more than 4 months after that January night, nobody has been charged with anything. The doorbell footage that started all of this is still the clearest piece of physical evidence in the entire case. And somewhere in Pima County's files, there is still a phone that was seized from a delivery driver in Rio Rico back in February. And there has never been a single public word about what, if anything, was found on it. Maybe there was nothing. Maybe that silence is exactly what it looks like, an investigative dead end that simply wasn't worth a press release. That is entirely possible. And if true, it is one more reason Carlos deserved the statement he asked for. But until somebody says it out loud, on the record, the eyes that matched, the mother-in-law who named her own son-in-law on live television, and the man who stood outside his broken front door at 3 a.m, asking strangers with cameras to please find the real suspect. All of that stays exactly where it's been sitting since February, unresolved. And there's a version of this story that we should at least name before we close, because it's the one nobody wants to say out loud. What if Carlos Palazuelos really is exactly what he says he is? A delivery driver who got unlucky, whose eyes happened to resemble a stranger's, who cooperated fully and lost months of his life to harassment for absolutely nothing. If that's the truth, and there is no public evidence suggesting otherwise, then the silence from Pima County isn't just an oversight. It's a small, ongoing injustice that nobody in power has bothered to fix, 4 months and counting, because fixing it would require admitting they got it wrong in public, and apparently that's harder than searching someone's house in the middle.
No, it's not. We're not dumb, Mr. Movie Man. He was picked up and questioned because his own family was shown a photo, and they themselves said his own family said, that's him. That looks like him. That's his eyes. Therefore, he was picked up. He was questioned. They released him. It's nobody else. He's a suspect. They had a right to pick him up and question him for that. They weren't breaking the law when they have the own family member telling them that it looks like him. They didn't break the law. Who's breaking the law is they don't have to say anything yet because it's an ongoing case. We don't know if Carlos is guilty or not. We have no idea. You can't, you want them to come, I mean, I guess they could come out and say Carlos had nothing to do with it. But then don't be back on here shocked if they arrest Carlos. They had the perfect right to do all this. You have to remember, there's a lot of people in on this, FBI and all this. If they have the computer data and everything, and the faces that the computer's pumping out that had records that are either already in the system or not, that's their right to do that. And all he was picked up, questioned, and he was released. Uh, he's the one that's making a big thing of this. He should be lucky that they haven't arrested him. I would probably just drop it because nobody's really talking about it until you made this video. Everyone forgot about Carlos. Nobody's been hounding him. You know, not on this channel. We haven't. He's a suspect. Yeah, I put out that information. I zoomed in on his face, seen the cuts, the nail marks, and all that. But that's our jobs as YouTube couch potato investigators to look into things. And on this channel, we said they're all innocent till proven guilty in the court of law. And these are only our theories and speculations or whatever. And that's our right. You can't lock people up for that. That's just crazy. Now, that's the government's problem why they didn't. And this might be a whole thing to make Carlos rich, right? Because now Carlos is going to say his whole life was that he can't work, he can't do anything. When nobody's following Carlos, anybody with a brain knows they're going to stay as far away as Carlos as they can. Ain't nobody want to go down just in case it is Carlos. Hey, it was Carlos. Shit, I was just out to dinner with that guy last night. Yeah. You don't know. Now we don't know, and on this channel, like I said, Carlos is innocent till proven guilty in the court of law. But the facts are, did they have the right to do that? Well, yeah, if his family members said that looks like my son-in-law. Yeah, they had the right to do that. And they probably showed photos to a lot of people, and a lot of people on the streets might have said, oh, that guy's on YouTube. I've seen him on YouTube. That's why they're getting picked up. Not just because the government's picking people up that don't even, if you look at these people, you put a mask on them. Do all the people that we have suspect on this channel look like Porch Guy? Yes. Yes. That's why they were picked up. Now, whether they want to make big stuff out of, oh my God, these guys picked me. Hey, whatever you want to call it, mistaken identity, whatever. At least you're not in jail, and they were just doing their jobs. People don't realize technology today, and it's not like the olden days. So yeah, can I see them being picked up for that? Probably. And them having arrest records that might say, well, this person's a criminal. Now, whether he would do something like this, we don't know, but he's got a criminal past. So yeah, they probably had the right to investigate it. And there'll probably be tons of more suspects that come out. Why? Because of what? Just like in the Delphi case, I got to keep reminding these people, just like in the Delphi case, they came out and said that they have the feeling that there was more than just one involved. And what are we seeing in the Nancy Guthrie case? The experts are saying there was probably others involved, numerous people. So we're right back to where we were with Delphi. That it's possible there was other people involved in this. And I would say, yes, they had the right to do that because, believe me, the government will lie to you. No, Johnny, everything's fine. No, we're not going to arrest you. Cut it out. Just put your hands against the wall over there. No, everything's fine. It's all fine. It's going to be okay. Here, let me give you a little injection. All right, there you go. Put your hands against the... We all been through it. If you're a United States citizen, they already know who you are. These people just don't understand our system and the government. If you have a United States Social Security number, they already know where you live, your phone number, and everything about you before you even tell them. So all these people flipping out, I'm like, yeah, you know, do you have a Social Security number? Yeah, they already know who you are. They have your baby footprints, they have your handprints, they have everything on you since the day you were born. If you have a United States Social Security number, yeah, people don't want to listen. I don't know what to tell them. That's just, it's a proven fact. That's just it. They know exactly who you folks are. Looks like bear porch gut guy, huh? Or wait, looks like a bear gut porch guy has. Yeah, yeah, he looks a little bit stockier than in the other one. In the other footage that we're seeing, the other footage, the guy looks like he's got a, you know, pretty small stomach, if one at all. But then again, we don't know how extreme these guys went to pull this off. That one guy might have walked off a camera and took cellophane wrapped it around his big belly, and made him look 50 pounds lighter. And he walked up. Yeah, yeah, very possible. I know a lot of people are, Johnny, come on. Are you kidding? No, I'm not kidding. You want to walk in the devil's shoes for a while? Yeah, it's very possible that the guy was heavy set, whatever, walked off camera, wrapped himself in cellophane wrap, and looked 50 pounds lighter and did this. If I don't have a government with an open mind, they're all gone. Fire them all. Get rid of them all. Anything's possible. He could have taped phone books around his legs to make his legs appear bigger. He could have had pads on under his legs to make him look bigger. He could have had forearm pads on to make himself look bigger. Yeah, I would believe it 100%. 100% if that's what they said. If that's what the evidence showed, I'd say, yeah, you guys are right on. FBI and the police are doing their jobs, because it's possible that that's what we're seeing. A lot of people, it's two different guys. They're signaling to other people out into the dark and everything. And I told them, people, you're right. Don't let these idiots tell you you're crazy. It very well might have been other people in the dark that we could not see. They were there, but we couldn't see them. We couldn't see past the front lights outside the porch. You can only see so far with the lights that she had on the front porch that illuminated and casted the shadow onto the ground, was because the front porch lights were on, the two big giant porch lights, not the moon shining. No, it's not against the law to have your lights on and your porch lights on in Arizona. I don't know who's telling these people. That's what they were saying in the one chat. It's against the law to have your lights on because of stargazers. I'm like, you people are literally nuts. You can have your porch lights on and your front yard lights and your landscaping lights on in Arizona. There's no law saying you have to black out. It's against the law. Don't you dare turn your front porch light on. You're asking the killers to come to Arizona. You know, it's pitch black out there. Debbie says, I know that porch guy was not a good or in good shape. Short, dumpy man, maybe. You might be right. But we are going to end this because we are at 2 hours. I want to say great video, fake AI John Voight. If you're going to talk to me, I will talk, but when nothing with the best. So next time, I'm expecting the real John Boyd to make one of these videos for us. I don't want these knockoff actors. I want the real thing. Bring in John Boyd. Let him do this. If not, get Brad Pitt. Somebody get Brad Pitt. Bring in somebody. Leo DiCaprio. One of these guys. Maybe. Who played Iron Man, Debbie? Who was that guy that played Iron Man? Louis Dewey Johnson, or whatever his name is. I forget his name. Maury Porvich, or Maury, whatever the dude's last name. Debbie, who played Iron Man? He's a great actor. Great actor. He played in all kinds of movies. Oh my God, I forget his name already. What's that actor's name that played Iron Man? I know his father was Maury Dvorsovich, or no, I don't know what his name was. Anyways, you know the whole story, folks. Now, we're going to end this video. Like I said, I'm on the run right now. I got Dave, the corned beef kid, looking for me, and his partner, Sloppy Joe Jabrola, from the East Coast. I'm on the run. I'm running myself. Debbie, you know it. Keep going. I'm not going. I'm out of here. I got the corned beef kid and Sloppy Joe's looking for me. I'm out of here, man. I'm going. I'm out of here. Now, you folks have a great day. I forget what the name of the dude's name is, Debbie. He played Iron Man. He was also in Days of Thunder, or not Days of Thunder. Dang it, I can't even remember that movie. I forget the name of it. Yeah, Robert. I forget the name. Was somebody sucking my brains up? Robbie Downey Jr. He was also in the movie Zero. He was also in the movie Days of Thunder, or whatever it was, with Ben Still and all them, where he played the black guy and everything. For 400 years. The hell, those people. Will you shut up? You're a cracker. You're a honky. You don't know what suffering is. For 400 years. I'm going to smack this right, dude. You don't want to do that. They've been doing that to our family, our people, for way too long, holding us down. It's hilarious. Did they make a Days of Thunder 2 yet? Somebody get in the movie set. Yeah, get them in there. Is there a Days of Thunder 2? Because they survived, some of them, most of them. Get them in there. Let's get this done. All right, you folks have a great day. God bless everybody. And what do we know? We know nothing now. This channel now is pleading the fifth. We're not calling anybody into the committee or into the Senate, Congress, or anything. We ain't doing. We're pleading the fifth. We solved enough cases for this country. I don't even get paid for it. Debbie, did you get paid? I don't even think she got paid. So we're done. We were just doing it to do it for good, for the people, for you, for me, for everybody. And I want to give everybody out there that's a YouTuber and did their jobs and might have called in tips, whatever it is, God bless. And if you get it wrong, you got it wrong. Move on to the next case. At least you're trying, and you're just not letting the madmen and women run wild in our country. God bless you all. I'll be back. If anything happens to me, make sure you start at the government, FBI, Cash Patel. I was just joking. You are not suspect. I did not say you were suspect yet, but I was just joking. I'm just an idiot, disability, mental case. That's all. Just trying to help solve cases. I think I'll keep my mouth shut. Cash, can you go ahead and fix this for me? And I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm done with solving cases for now. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to retire. Debbie, you have a great day. I'll be back.